So the doctrine of sin, and this is a tough doctrine because this is the bad news of the scriptures. It's hard to hear, it's tough to think about, because with the doctrine of sin, what we're talking about is the brokenness of all things, the brokenness of humanity, the brokenness of creation, a strayed and frayed relationship with our Creator God, where all of creation now sits under condemnation. And the question is why? Like, how did this happen? If God created all things perfect and right, what happened where this got off? And not just off, but in a very disastrous way, off. Well, Satan opposes God. He comes in, he deceives Adam and Eve, and in his deception of Adam and Eve, promising the opportunity to be like God, he lies to them, he deceives them, and they fall for it. And in their deception, they disobey. And in that disobedience, what happens to this perfect shalom, what happens to this perfect relationship and perfect creation relationship is that sin enters in and it breaks that. And in the breaking of that reverberates literally throughout the universe, where all things are now broken. It's pervasive, it's radical, it's disastrous. Not just our bodies are broken, our minds are broken, our will is broken, our affections are broken, they're disordered, they're off, they're not as they should be or not as they were intended to be. Think about Romans chapter 3, where it says that this brokenness means that we all are now under condemnation. We're under condemnation up against a holy God who is righteous and is within his rights to judge sin, to judge sinful humanity. And so again, we started off by saying that this is not great news. In fact, it's really, really bad news, because all of humanity broken, all of humanity under condemnation, and now this creation and creator relationship is fractured and frayed, where it's no longer a peaceful, loving relationship. It's one where they're at odds with one another, that we're at odds with our Creator God, and we find ourselves really desperate and hopeless. And if everything ended in Genesis chapter 3, then we would find ourselves in despair. We would find ourselves without hope. But thank God that the doctrine of sin doesn't simply end with the doctrine of sin, that there's good news on the other end of this bad news.